Welcome back. So in this video I will be demonstrating Metasploit Framework. It is an exploit framework. It is used quite often by offensive security engineers. They also have other various tools they'll use, but Metasploit just provides a lot of functionality in one package, so it makes it very enticing to use. So what I have here is I actually have a Windows 7 vulnerable 64-bit machine that I have stood up. It has been patched. So if you have Windows 7, make sure you're patched or just not run Windows 7. Anyways, you'll see I ran Nmap against this already, which we already discussed. So you'll see from the output, we have Windows 7 Professional. It is guessing it is a 64-bit architecture. It also helps that I named it Windows 64. So what I will do is I'm actually going to launch Metasploit Framework. So you do that from the command line, typing msf console. You can also come here and launch it there, but I'm just going to run it from here. It takes a little bit to launch. It needs to start up. You'll see it's going to say it's starting. Once you get in there, it is another command line. So I apologize for those of you that are not super comfortable with command line, but it does have some nice features. You can always type help, and it will give you a output of optional commands. You can also search, which is what makes it probably the most user-friendly. So I'm going to search. So in this case, I'm looking specifically for a well-known vulnerability on Windows 7, which is Eternal Blue. So I'm just going to search Eternal Blue. And you'll see that it actually comes up with a couple of options. It is a tiered system on how it does organizes the tools. So if you kind of know what you're looking for, but you're not quite sure, you can kind of use the structure. So like this is auxiliary, so it's more along the lines of like a scanner, something that isn't exactly a exploit tool. Then you have exploit, which is an exploit, and they have a couple other ones. I forget what the other ones are, but those help you kind of filter down and understand what you're looking at along when you pull up one of the modules. So in this instance, I'm going to be using this option number 2, which is so it's an exploit for Windows over SMB. So we saw that on the Nmap scan, we have our SMB port open. And then this is the specific module that we're going to load. So the MS17010, which is Eternal Blue. So you can either copy this full thing and type use like that, or I can just type use2, since I've already done a search and it does have it understands the syntax. So you'll see that it now has exploit Windows SMB, so we know we have the right one. So the first thing you want to do is do show options, and this will list everything that you really need in order to run this this module. So our host is your remote host. You see the description over here, so the target host. So I already know the IP is 192.168.254.139. So I'm just going to copy that. And then what you do is you do set, and then whatever the option is you need to set. So our hosts. And then I'm just going to paste. And you'll see that it says our host is now set to that. The other thing you do need to check is your L host. Just make sure that your IP is set properly. For the most part, we're not going to be utilizing anything that really requires you to, you don't need to worry about setting this. But one thing to mention, if you were to do this extracurricular outside of work, if you are running a virtual machine, you probably don't want to have your network interface set to bridged or to NAT or host only, you're going to want to have it set to bridged, so you actually can get an IP on the same network. Or if you're running a VPN, you have the VPN specifically on here, and then you need to set your local host, the listening host, to the IP of a network that is accessible from the target. Kind of going outside there, but anyways, you will see that there is a payload that's already selected. I'm not going to change this because it's using one of the better options. So Windows 64 architecture, Meterpreter, and reverse TCP. So this slash right here means that it's a staged shell. So it'll actually set up Meterpreter, or it'll do a reverse TCP and then download the Meterpreter client. Which the Meterpreter client on its own is a whole nother thing. Other thing you can notice is when we look up here, there is a check. So this one does have a check, so I can go ahead and do check, and it'll actually go out and check to see if the exploit that I'm running is most likely going to work on that target. It doesn't mean it's going to always work, but it's more likely to. So then you can either type run or exploit. Either one does the same thing, so you'll see that it'll run. And this one takes a little bit of time because it does have to do a couple iterations of things, but you'll see, there we go. So it says win. Sometimes it doesn't work if it patched or something like that, but this one, it gives me a Meterpreter shell. You'll see that I have the secret on my desktop, so if I go back over here, I just do a cat c users user desktop secret.txt, you win.